Welcome to the Sacred Pearl podcast. I almost forgot what it was called. Welcome to the Sacred Pearl podcast with myself, Reverend Arlene from Reverend Arlene Cadornis Ministries, our ministry. So I wasn't sure what this episode's was going to be about. I wasn't even sure if I was ready to create and post another episode. And to be honest, I really have no direct or clear vision of where this episode is going to go. So we'll just, you know, let God take over, like always, which happened quite a few times driving this morning. I was thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to go one way. And then I just kept seeing, nope, go this way, go this way. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm just the vehicle you control. Okay. So, and yes, it all worked out well and was, you know, seamless driving, which was great. So I don't know if the rest of you or whoever's, watching this episode. So today is actually June 11th, 2025. And I know that today is Strawberry Moon, I think is what it's called. And every time I hear Strawberry Moon, all I hear is the Beatles, Strawberry Fields Forever. Anyways, um, so with that, and then again, I'm not an astrologer, but I know there's lots of things happening with the planets and, something that's shared from a friend of mine. She's not an astrologer either, but she still has a better understanding um, with that. So, uh, she shares a lot of that with me in her class. So I'll give another shout out to Maria Deesy. Love her. I'll put her website link in the notes of this video so you can go check her out. She also has a YouTube channel and Instagram page and stuff like that. So always lots of information and an amazing artist, which I can't wait till she starts sharing more of that and that those who feel drawn to it can purchase them from her. So, okay. So I know for myself personally, and I will admit that I might even start crying a little bit just because it's emotional. There's a lot going on. And and it's interesting because it's not that it's difficult. It's just like, yes, it's difficult, it's uncomfortable, but that's not why I feel the emotion. I don't know how to explain it. It's just because it is so present and it's this level of like, wow, I'm so like grateful and thankful that it's there so it's a bit more tangible in a way, so I could see it more clearly and like navigate myself through it, even though it's not just me, it's impacting a lot of people in my family, in my household and stuff like that. But so, in videos I've made just on my YouTube channel in general, like posts about energy updates and stuff like that. Um, like I've said, like right now, the energy is very unforgiving. It's really forcing us, like it's hitting us like boom, smack, like clue by four, right in the head. Like clue by four, you can't miss it type of intensity of like just the most uncomfortable shit rising to the surface, right? Like such, like really attacking in a way that we see where we still hold so much judgment and fear within us and um like the programs that we still hold on to, the limiting beliefs, that and how we still get so wrapped up in the illusions of everything. Like it's just that powerful of stuff. And it's like I said, it's difficult and it requires a lot of one, compassion on our part, compassion for ourselves. It requires so much presence, like to really truly be aware and present so that you can just really sit with it. And I think that's kind of where I wanted to go with this episode is the idea, like, understanding that it is so important that we sit with it. It's so important that we are so present and, you know, taking notice of the uncomfortableness we're feeling in our body. How is it presenting itself in consequence or in reaction to our resistance of it, right? Where we still struggle and we're still kind of, in our own way at times. And at the same time, like I said, in that resistance of like we acknowledge it, but it's still difficult to move past it or to really accept that that's where we still hold on to things. Um, yeah. So like for me, I've been noticing, so I'm gonna be vulnerable here, which is not easy. Um, so I've been, and sitting with myself and having conversations with, like I said, with Maria and my cousin and stuff like that, which is, the few people I kind of share things with. Um, I've been kind of hit with, it's like, again, it's that thing of like, you kind of know it in the background, but it still hasn't fully surfaced. Like, it's almost like it's still kind of like sitting back here. And now it's kind of like boom in my face. And it's showing itself up in so many ways, like different things. Um, so like for me, a big part that I'm dealing with or is rising to the surface that is I really need to be present with and sit with. But not to the point where I'm sitting there and judging or I'm sitting there and letting myself kind of get like so wrapped up in the chaos and going down the rabbit hole, right? It's very much about being the observer and still being to a level detached, right? Like I find that with me, like there's a level of detachment to it so I can be the observer while still allowing whatever to rise to the surface so I can identify. So it's more about just identifying and not letting yourself get like wrapped up in it and stuck in it, right? Because then you're just kind of letting it linger and like you're feeding it more. If that makes sense. So, if we're going to put labels on things, right? So there's levels of abandonment. And yes, I've had a lot of like physical abandonment in my life from family. Um, but the biggest abandonment in this is the abandonment of myself. And it's interesting because, this was something that had already shown up in my awareness, not too long ago and just having conversations like I do every day with God, right? And we just talk and shoot the shit, basically, right? I just sit there and I shoot the shit with God and Jesus and Archangel Michael. Because those are the three closest peeps I have, as much as I just, talk in general. But I find, I don't know, maybe it's just the human in me that's just like, oh yeah, I need to like put these kind of like faces to something, but I don't know, either way. And I know that there are aspects of me and I'm aspects of them, but still, whatever. That's just, I think sometimes it's just the human just kind of needs that to just maybe not feel as crazy. I don't know, even though I know I'm not, but it feels that way sometimes. So, okay. So I was having this conversation with God the other day. I was bringing that up about the fact that, like I do abandon myself so often in those little things of like, when you make these like promises to yourself, right? Like, like, okay, like starting this day, I'm going to start cutting this out. or starting this day, I'm going to start doing this, you know, and then the day comes and you're just like, ah, screw it. I need it. So you go and you do it. So like that level, like there's those levels of abandonment. And just like other things too. So I'm like, like, I was already seeing some of those, like more of like the superficial levels of abandonment, but also knowing that there's deeper layers to that abandonment of the surface stuff, right? And then, so now, right, like, so in that, also within that scope of abandonment, I struggle with, I don't know if it's so much with like self-worth, but I sometimes I feel like that level of, um, what is it called? What's the label they give it? Like not impersonation, is it not impersonation syndrome? What is it? Anyways, it's that kind of, that thing where you feel like you're like not being a liar, but it's almost like you're just not, it's that like that thing of like, why me? Like, like who am I to even be making this podcast? Who am I to be sharing these things? Like, who am I to say, I received this information and blah, right? And then there's also, and this is also another like in the umbrella of fear, another fear that I have, and it's something that I've had a fear of for a long time and I've recognized it for a long time, and it's funny how it still like pops up, but takes on different faces and forms. And you'll probably notice that too in your life, right? So I feel like there's this underlining fear of being happy, of being successful, right? Because then in the level of being happy, it's like, then there's more to lose, right? So if I'm happy, if I'm in a happy relationship, if I'm in a job that's successful, again, then either I used to always say to myself, I remember growing up, I don't know where this came from. So who knows, right? I'm sure eventually I'll figure that out. But I don't even know where that came from. But I used to always say to myself, like that thing of like, watch, well, again, okay, sorry, let me go back a little bit. So as I shared in the other episodes, about my struggles with depression and, just feeling like I was a burden, wasting time, like taking up air, taking up space. So, in that same kind of wavelength of thoughts, I used to always think to myself, like, here's me, wanting to die, wanting to kill myself, thinking of suicide all the time. And then I also thought to myself in the same time, you know, and watch the minute I'm happy, I'm going to die. So the minute I get everything that I wanted in life to make me really happy, I'm going to lose it all because I'm going to die. And it's going to be like, ha, slap in the face to you, right? Like, I know, like messed up, right? Like, where do these thoughts come from? I don't know. So there's that too, right? Where it's like that fear of really stepping into yourself because of so much uncertainty, right? And sometimes, like in my conversation today with Maria, like I was saying to her too, like I wonder sometimes if part of it, when I think about, like to me, when I think about, like for me with depression, I can't say for everybody else, but I know like there's that level of, you know, it's not that I'm not authentically me, but there are a lot of things where I don't honor myself all the time because of fear, right? Not wanting to hurt the people around me, uh, and at the same time, being of someone in service, then I sometimes feel like I'm disrespecting my gifts by not being available to so many people, right? So there's all those things. And I sometimes, so I think part of my human ego has been saying to me, oh, you can't be. So it's okay. So it's funny. So people have referred to me as the Phoenix, like from Marvel, right? So from Marvel Comics. So because Jean Grey, psychic, and all this stuff, right? So and sometimes so people would say like my true form or my true being is to become the Phoenix. So we're just going to use that for now. So you get a little bit of the backstory, right? So it's like my fear of becoming the Phoenix is, or the fear that I think my human ego has kept saying to me is, well, you can't really be the Phoenix because then that means you have to like, cut off all these other things in your life. And, and it means like, basically letting your old life die. And so now I'm like, after having a conversation today too with Maria, like I was feeling to myself, you know what, maybe there are, and sure, there's aspects to it, like, of course, right? Like when you're sort of rebirthing yourself, there is always levels of death. But now when, like, it's something that just came to me, like, it was during this conversation that's when it came to me. Like, I think, you know what, maybe that's probably just the ego trying to put me in more fear so that I don't do anything to rock the boat, right? So, because then I also feel like stepping into that Phoenix energy, I feel that response, like a level of responsibility. So, and for any of those people who do know me, they know that I still hold a lot of like reverence, I guess, to the old ways, right? Like the old ways of the cosmic laws, right? Of the give and take, the constant cycle, um, the old ways of uh Avalon, of being with the high priestess and like the pagans, the druids, the mystics in that time. So to me, for some reason, I don't know if it's a past life thing or if it's just been brought like it part of my bloodline because I feel like that we have a lot of that held with us because I've been in meditations, like there's that level of, and again, I don't mean this as like uh, to be derogatory. I think that's the word I'm looking for, right? Like there's that gypsy level of energy, and that's the only way I know to describe it because that's how it was always shown to me, right? And even in meditation, when I'm being spoken to, that's the term they're still using. So again, I don't mean it to be to sound as if I'm trying to be insulting in any way. Uh, and I apologize if I'm not using the correct word. But that's how it got brought to me. So there's a lot of that old, like I said, that old mystic magic energy that's there. Um, so yeah. So with that, I still hold, like I said, there's a lot of reverence in that. And I believe there's a lot more responsibility for people like me who are in this level of service, who have the level of abilities, gifts that I possess and that I still don't even know I possess, right? Like I've said to you before too, I'm not good with labels. So it's just whatever comes through. And then I talk to other people and they're like, oh yeah, I have this certificate. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's what it's called because like, I don't know. That's just something I do. Like I didn't get any training for it. Just comes out, right? So yeah, so it's just that innate in me. So to me, I hold a lot of responsibility in that. And, I'm very cautious of how I present information, how I share information. Um, and always understanding that I still leave the responsibility to the person in front of me because it is still your choice, right? It's your decision. You are a sovereign being. You have the right to make your own choices. I can just share the information and then you do what you want because I'll always say, like, you need to do your own research and figure it out. I'm just sharing what is given to me, but It's not written in stone. Like, you know what I mean? I can only give you aspects, and it all depends too. Like a lot of times the information depends on the timeline you're in, right? And our timelines are constantly changing, right? So, but there are things that carry on through the timelines. And I think sometimes like those things are more powerful. And then I can share, I guess, a little bit more with ease that level of information because there's certain parts of energy that just doesn't really change much. Anyways, so as I was saying, I'm realizing that, with that, because I still feel such a responsibility to things, that's another level of, I think, where another level of fear comes too, right? Because, you know, with that level of responsibility, I feel in the information shared, always wanting to be genuine, authentic, and bring forward the highest level of information and never wanting to take anyone's free will or power away, because that would never be anything I would ever try to do, right? But there's still that level of fear because as much as I know where I'm coming from, and there is no like conditions to it, right? It's like I don't want anything from it. Like there's nothing in it for me, is what I'm trying to say. There is still that level of like how the other person will react, right? Or how people will take in the information, right? And I know from a past life, well, even though past lives don't exist, but in one of my other lives, right? One of my other existence of beings is being hung for being a witch, being, um, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? But still being treated poorly, and being called a charlatan and, those things, right? So it's like, that's why I feel like those things still carry with me in this life, in this present experience, because again, of the level of responsibility and the level of reverence I have for the cosmicness, right? The mystic being, the love, the God, everything. So a lot of those things bring up fear. So I'm feeling a lot of that fear right now because I'm taking this step forward, really out of my comfort zone, like one with this podcast, being more present on social media, um, being more present with creating my my business, I guess, right? Like, even though it's so weird to me to think of it as a business because I don't really know how to be any other way, but still, right? Like, so, creating my treatment space, my workshops, my events, my classes, all those things. There's always this level of me of just like, why me? Like, who gives where I come off? Like, and again, and I know that I'm not coming from a place of like, I know more. It's just I have different information to share. And you join the class or you don't, right? You watch the podcast or you don't, right? Like I I know that, but the human in me is still fighting those things, right? And that fear, and that's another level of abandoning myself because I'm still questioning, do I post this? Do I share this? Do I say anything? Right? And just like even too when I have my conversations with God, and I've said before, maybe not on the podcast, I can't remember if I said on the podcast, maybe I did. I don't know. Like when I go for walks, all of a sudden I see Jesus and he's walking with me, or Yonaganda, right? Like he's walking with me, and or just different things. Or like, I don't know, a few weeks ago, I had Pope John Paul walking with me. Now that was different. I've never had him walk with me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was kind of cool. Like him showing up and just being with me. Like, yeah. So it's like I'm going on these walks and I'm just listening to my mantra music or listening to a podcast or whatever. And boom, all of a sudden it always starts first. I see the feet first. And then, I see the feet or the shoes, whatever they're wearing. And then as I look up, I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Like, I don't know. So yeah. And then we have our telepathic talks in our head and sometimes I'll say things out loud a little bit, but I kind of try to be more like aware of my surroundings so people don't think I'm talking to myself, or just talking out loud to myself. So it's not like I have my phone to be like, oh my gosh, yeah, shows you how old I am. I did a phone like this instead of like this now. Anyways, I'm rambling. Just showing you how old I am. But I'm still like this. You said I didn't go like this, to do the phone number. Anyways, okay. So the point of this episode is to understand, like to help you through my experience about that right now we are experiencing a lot of this. We are very uncomfortable right now. We are being made super uncomfortable so that we can no longer ignore and really step up for ourselves to create change for our lives, for our being, for our spirits, so that we are lining up to our divine blueprints. And that is what the main message is of this episode. So it's about allowing yourself, like it's so important that we allow and that we surrender to being present. It helps the process. It really does. And as again, it's like it's uncomfortable and you're gonna probably cry, be angry maybe. And yes, there's so much part of us that's gonna keep just denying, like, no, 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 no. But you can't deny it anymore. Like you really can't. And sadly, not sadly, but the harsh truth is that a lot of people who are still in deep-seated denial won't be able to handle being in this energy, in these paradigms, in these timelines. So, there will be many more deaths, um, illnesses, often it's cancer, different forms of cancer that happen because of that. Um, Deep forms of dementia and Alzheimer's, but often it's death because people just, they can't. And they've reached a point where they're at a plateau now and they've decided to not keep expanding and evolving within themselves. And then they've, kind of like changed the contract that they made before they came to Earth. And some people, that was always their contract. But I do feel that for a lot of people, there is still like this point on their path that they can almost like change the contract if they decide to change it, right? If they decide like, no, I still want to learn more. I'm ready to shift further within myself. But yes, it is just so important that you give yourself permission to be uncomfortable, to write if you need to, like just write, just keep writing, like journaling, just keep writing. It doesn't matter. And another big piece about journaling is, I don't know if you're going to notice this, but I noticed this about myself, is that I have like my journal on my laptop. And at times, I'm getting better at it now, but I was noticing that I was still a level of judging myself as I'm writing because I was afraid for who, I don't know. It's my laptop, right? Like, just ridiculous. I'm like worried about sounding bad, like mean or unappreciative, and, like these different things. And I was like afraid of that. So I wasn't really writing everything that was coming out. So like at times I was angry or upset or hurt, and things I wanted to say to people, even though I know it has nothing to do with them, it's all me, but still at that moment I needed to say it to them, right? And I was afraid to write that shit. Like, seriously, Arlene? Come on, right? And so that's the thing. Just write it. It doesn't matter. Even if all you write is frack, 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 right? Shit, 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 whatever. Like, who cares? Just write it and get it out. If you need to sit in your car and scream, put the music blaring and scream in your car, then scream. Like, it is so important that we give ourselves what we need in that healthy way, right? And understanding that right now, too, where this energy, and this is just coming to me now, um, for a lot of people, and again, I'm not here to judge, I'm just sharing the information that I'm being given. I feel that also in this extreme shift, especially for those who maybe aren't exactly on the same, I guess we're going to say timeline, right? We're not experiencing and seeing the increase that I'm seeing and feeling, right? Because again, we're all on different timelines. We're all on individual paths. So for those who are still maybe not like super new to the awakening process, whatever you want to call it, but who have been in it for a little bit, like maybe for, a couple of years or like a year or so, and are more in understanding awareness. I feel for those people, you're going to be noticing more the need to cut out a lot of things in that you consume. So I feel for a lot of people, they're going to be noticing that, their body can't handle alcohol. It just doesn't do it for them anymore. Even if it was just like, even if you only like did it for special occasions, like even that, it's just not going to feel meh. There was a time where things like, cannabis, marijuana was beneficial in helping support people. And I'm not saying that it's not, but oh, gotta pause that. Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I have no idea now what I said last because as you heard the doorbell and my neighbor came to the door with some treats. So yeah, I have no idea what I was talking about now. It's totally gone, and that's what happens. But I think the part, like I was saying, let's just go back to like maybe like what I was trying to say before. It's just about being, oh, I think I was talking about people not, oh yes, okay, that's what it was. So yes, so you're going to be noticing things like cannabis no longer uh like again, like these are just things you're going to just not feel like they're benefiting you anymore like they used to. Like even people who with psychedelics really, right? Like, and again, like I said, like I believe that there is a purpose for a lot of those things that can be beneficial. But I feel for some people, as their light body begins to activate more and you're becoming more of your authentic, sovereign self and really deep in the work of the energy work for yourself, um, to transmute and transcend, you're going to be noticing that those um, those things no longer sit in a vibration that you can align with. The frequencies are way too off and they don't harmonize anymore. So you're going to be finding a lot of that. There is not going to be any more harmonization. And you're going to find like it actually makes you feel more shitty than better. So, so again, like the psychedelics, like the um, ayahuasca stuff, those things. Like I just find for a lot of people, you're going to be noticing that it doesn't support you like it used to. Um, and I do feel that for some, that is going to be a struggle because, you've been probably in a way conditioned by the spiritual community. I'm trying to be very mindful of my words. Um, the spiritual community of like, oh, like it takes you here and it takes you there. And there was a time that that did happen, but you are, when you are more in your authentic being and you and you're activating that light body more and you're sitting more in that seat of consciousness, you get to those places, you enter those dimensional frequencies by just your breath, being aware, present, and through like a level of meditation. Um, because yeah, I just find like you don't need that to get there anymore. It's not it's not sustainable, and to a level is not true to the true God energy that sits there of unconditional love. So I'm going to leave that here. Again, please be so compassionate with yourself. Be so patient with yourself. It's not about blame. It's not about criticism. It's not about you're a shitty person or what's wrong with you that it's none of those things. It is just about the awareness. It's about being present. It's about allowing yourself to be in the mess so that you can be in the mess without allowing the mess to take over, without letting it to control you. That is what is a big part of this. And to not give up just because it's tough. If you feel like you need to isolate yourself sometimes, then do it. If you feel like you need to cry, then do it. If you feel like you just need to lay in your bed and not talk to anybody, not respond to text messages or phone calls or emails, then just do it. It's just so important that you be honest with yourself, no matter how hard and uncomfortable it is. Thank you so much for being here and for joining in today's podcast. Surrounding you all in love. I am so grateful for your presence, for your support, and until next time, you're loved, you're seen, you're safe, you're whole.